Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. This is Alex Baguley.
Hello.
And football is back,
Proper
Alex.
football.
Football
Proper
is
football.
back. None of this Euros. None of this Cup of...
Yeah.
None of that. None of this SPL, Bundesliga, League One, League Two,
Pre-season
Championship,
stuff.
pre-season. Football,
Season.
Premier League, Manchester United returns this weekend. And it's quite a big one, isn't it?
It's a pretty big fixture.
It's a pretty big fixture.
Very
Manchester
big fixture.
United versus Leeds to start us off, to hit us into the stratosphere. First game of the season, Man United versus Leeds at Old Trafford. What are your thoughts?
All excited.
Yeah.
Very excited. It's going to be a massive game. I think pre-season was a bit until like last week. Maguire returned, Fernandes comes back, Lindelof back, Shaw back. You went, wow, that's a team again. We look pretty good. We've got Sancho coming in. We've got Varane coming in. Everyone's a bit like, okay, we're pretty good at football now. I want to see this in proper action now. I want to see that. And against Leeds United, after what happened last year, they were pretty decent, but we battered them.
Yeah.
It would be so good if we kicked off the season with a big win today, tomorrow, or whenever we play Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
Kicks it off of, right, we're in for a title charge. We're going to do that kind of stuff. This is what the season's all about. Because at the minute, it's all about, will Chelsea be good? Will City be good? Will Liverpool be good?
Will you join my fantasy Premier League team? It's only 70 quid to join. No, because I'll forget to triple captain Lukaku on the first week.
And I'm not wasting 70 quid on
money
that.
gone.
No.
Right, let's get into it then. So last year, United obviously battered Leeds at home.
We did.
But then the 0-0 away is one of the most turgid games of football I've ever seen. So that is, that's the actual most recent game we've played against them.
It was, but I've tried kind of blocked that out of the memory
blocked it out.
because we were kind of in the point where the Premier League is over. We had all this kind of playing 10 games in 4 days or something like that, wasn't it? It was where we were trying to catch everything up. So that was kind of a bit of a nothing game. Leeds never really came at us. We kind of rotated and never really went at them. And it was just kind of a, 0-0's all right. No one hates that. We're going to finish second. You're going to finish wherever you're going to finish. You're not going to do great. You're not going to get relegated. And it was a bit of a nothing fixture. Whereas at the start of the season, when United were on a bit of a downward trend or not quite know where we were at, came out and scored 6 goals against them. And that one was the one that mattered. And that, to me, is...
Yeah.
It's whether they've now figured it out, but again, start the season. It's a tough game to go into because Leeds always come out fitter than anyone else. That's always been the case. So to start your season when you've maybe not got everyone back yet, is the toughest test you can probably do.
It's a really difficult one because, other than maybe Liverpool, who, again, a lot of their key players didn't go, Mane, Salah, all rested. Obviously their fullbacks and Robertson went, but, we don't need to go into Liverpool.
Yeah.
A lot of their defence as well, well rested, either didn't go, were injured, come back from injury. Other than Liverpool, who are basically like a better version of Leeds, Leeds are about as tough a first game as you could have because most of their players didn't go away. No. Calvin Phillips did, a few of the other ones did, but generally speaking, the core of their team has been training and has had a proper pre-season, will be fully fit. Like I said, Bielsa keeps his team as fit as anyone in the league. That's just what he does. And then obviously you've got the rivalry with Manchester United on top of that. After the fact that, like you said, yes, we got a few back against Everton, but most of our players, especially the big names, have either had one game of pre-season or none.
Yeah.
So it's like we're going to either be playing a weakened team that's played a bit more or a full-strength team that hasn't got much experience and much fitness left back in the legs. It's going to be really, really difficult, this game. It does really worry me.
Yeah.
Let's go through a couple of players and then we'll talk about teams and predictions and how it's all going to piece together. The big one, Varane isn't even announced yet, by the way.
It's
so
madness.
as of us recording this, hopefully it'll be announced before the game kicks off. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it was tomorrow. But yeah, hopefully Varane will be announced. But as of this point of recording, he hasn't been, so he ain't starting. There's a chance he makes the squad, maybe. I could see that. Apparently, he's been doing kick-ups in the garden, and that's enough to be fit to play Leeds. But Jadon Sancho is the one where that's the talk.
Yeah.
He's the big money sign of the summer. It's been 2 years in the making. We fought it down from 120 last summer, 73 million in the end. Without going into whether you think he'll play or not, or you can if you want to. We'll talk about our teams in a minute. How important is he, and how important is he in this sort of game? Looking back at the 0-0 last season, where we just couldn't cut through them when everyone wasn't on top form, someone like Jadon Sancho coming in is so important.
It is important, and whether he starts on the bench, whether he comes in or not, he's going to be important because we're missing Marcus Rashford, we're missing Edison Cavani. it might be a bit of a makeshift front three or a front three that's never played together. So it's going to be interesting. And whether he's starting in that front three that's a bit makeshift or whether he's coming off the bench, he might be the one that's asked to, you got to step up here, because we're going to ask the same of Anthony Martial, who had a poor season last season. Yes, he had his injuries. He's now got to step up. Mason Greenwood, first season, second season, kind of dropped off a little bit, but again, a lot went on. You're hoping he kicks on this season. He's played a lot of he's been the one throughout pre-season that's played. Yeah. I'm expecting him to come in and be, more important from the off and not be, you can't ease your way into this season. You've got to be going straight away. Yeah.
If you want to win the league, we don't get 10 games to warm up. We have to overcome the fact that we aren't fit as Leeds.
And for as much as it's Jadon Sancho just coming in, he may be the one that kind of go, look, you're probably more experienced, you had the best season out of who's available now fit, go and do something for us. And it's a lot of pressure on him. I'm hoping he can, if he doesn't start, come onto a game, we've scored a couple of goals, go and express yourself and show how good you are. That's what you're hoping the situation to be without getting any minutes. But you never know. He might start. It might have to be you do it from the start.
I hope he starts. We'll get into teams in just a second, like I said. But before that, you mentioned there about starting the season well, putting together a title challenge, that sort of thing. That is the goal this season, isn't it? I don't think anyone could have an argument with that. Do you think?
No, it has to be a challenge of some sort. It has to, even if it's not. It's one of them. It's going to be. People have asked this debate. We had this on the podcast the other week. I've seen Steve debating what's a successful season. People going, if he doesn't win a trophy, is he sacked? Well, no, that's not the thing, because he could finish. If you finish second by losing on the last day of the season, you don't sack him for that.
No.
Even if you don't win another trophy, but if you won the League Cup and finish 8th, he's going to go. He's going to go. So that's not how it goes. It's a case of, I'd love to win a trophy. I think this team needs one. You need the likes of Maguire, Rashford, maybe Rashford's had one, but you need those ones to win a trophy and have that. But you also need to continue this progression that we've had for the past few years, which is we finished third, finished second. Now it's let's be up there at least. Now it might not be good enough. You've got 2-3 very, very good teams that might just be better than us. However good we are, might just be better. But you have to at least show we're getting closer again to the likes of Man City, the likes of Chelsea, and this team progressing, this team looking better, because I think it has done the last 2 years. But now you've added a couple more players, it has to look like this is a title challenging team. Yeah. Even if we don't win it this year, I'd love to think we can. I'm hoping we can. But it's okay, we need one more piece and we're going to win it next year. Yeah. That's where you want to be going into next season. Yeah, it's got to be really close. I think, let us know at home what your expectations are for the season. Obviously, this is the first preview of the year, the first preview of the season. For me, like you said, Alex, it has to be a title challenge. We were in and amongst the title. We were top of the league in January last year. Yep. That's good, but now it needs to be within 5 points of the top of the league going into May. I think that would be my sort of criteria for a really good season. There are sort of ways that could fall or go by. If we had horrific injuries, there could be exceptions to that. But for me, we've got to be challenging for the title. With that being said, then, give me your team that you think is going to give us a chance of starting off on the right foot. So this is my starting 11. David De Gea in goal, Dean Henderson out. I don't think there's a question about that. Back four with no Varane. I think he goes with the same back four he played against Everton last week, which is Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw, which has been the mainstay for the last couple of seasons. Yeah. I think in terms of how much Leeds are going to press and you need legs in there, I think he goes to Fred and McTominay. People are going to hate that. People don't want to see that. But I think at this moment in time, that's what you've got to go for. I don't think Matic can do it. I don't think it's a game for Donny van der Beek to be thrown in at the deep end. I think it's going to be those two. And then in terms of going forward with the injuries, I don't think Sancho starts. I think he needs maybe to come off the bench, maybe get half an hour. I'm going with Pogba on the left, Bruno in the middle and Mason on the right with Martial. Wouldn't be surprised if you saw something like Pogba on the right, Martial on the left and Greenwood through the middle, that front three kind of floating around. Same thing with Bruno. But I'm expecting that if Sancho's proved himself, maybe he comes in there. I'm not too sure what that means for Paul Pogba at the minute, whether he can go into midfield. Especially, look, Leeds is a different task. It's a case of you have to try and match them running wise, and I think that you've got to play Fred and McTominay in that kind of game. I
can see why you've gone for them. My only concern about that team is Martial fit? He played his first game of football in 5 months against Everton. I think that'll be a big task. Not to diss Martial. I thought he looked really slow.
Yeah, he did.
The ball was bouncing off him. passes were being misplaced, didn't really do a whole lot in that game, despite how good United were. But it's a strong team on paper. Let's move on to my team. I don't think anyone can really argue the sort of the back five, really. It's just the best team we've got, isn't it? Varane isn't going to be there quick enough to start, I don't think. So, back five, I think that just is the back five, barring any injuries. I've gone a bit different. I kind of agree what you say about McTominay and Fred, and I know he likes to play him against Leeds. I know he likes that energy in there. McTominay was excellent at Old Trafford against Leeds last season. But for the sake of, I've gone a bit more in that position, experience in pre-season over experience last season. So I've gone Matic and Van der Beek. I think Matic was brilliant against Everton. First half, just completely ran the game, like just as good as he can be, really. I know it's a pre-season match, it's a friendly. Everton was shocking, but Matic was brilliant in that game. I think Van der Beek as well in there. Matic is, I think, the only one of our defensive midfielders that has the ability to actually control the ball and control the pace of the game. He might not be able to do that against Leeds because they press so well. They're so energetic in there. But I just think he's had more minutes. He's had more of a rest. Matic and Van der Beek, obviously, seeing Van der Beek start for United in the Premier League is a bit of a shooting star occurrence. But again, I think he's got the experience in pre-season. We've heard all of this talk about his big bloody biceps. Yeah, you got to start showing him. Then Dan James on the left. Bruno, I think, starts. No matter what. And then I have gone with Jadon Sancho. I think in his position, there's a chance he could start because, we've heard that he's staying fit. He's been training for this week. It's not the same as if he was playing central midfield or, he's not going to have to get up and down quite as much. I think he could play there with even limited fitness. And let's be honest, he didn't play much in the Euros. He played the Ukraine game and came on as sub a couple of times. He's not been knackered all summer. No. He's had a good rest. The worry for me would be that he's not quite fit enough yet. But again, in that position, I think you can risk it. And then Mason Greenwood up front again. He's played pretty much every minute or, as many minutes as anyone in pre-season. I think he leads the line. Cavani's had 5 weeks off because he's just someone's granddad who gets to have as much time off as he wants. How mad's that, by the way? I reckon Cavani's like, I signed a new contract, but I want the holiday of a school child. I want a full 6 weeks. They finished in the Copa America 5 weeks ago. What the fuck?
I kind of get it. I get it because of the situation when he joined at Manchester United. He didn't get to go, it was a very, very difficult situation he came into. And I think it was a case of, let's give him a bit of time off. Let's let him do that. I understand it. I think we're gonna miss him to start. Yeah. I'd like to see him start, especially without Marcus, especially with getting Sancho last week. You were expecting him a week earlier. I get it. It's frustrating, but if you can keep Cavani fit for the rest of the season, I think that's a better alternative.
Yeah.
Going back to your team a little bit, Matic. If Matic starts, that is a big statement from Ollie that he can still do this because Leeds is as tough of a run you're going to get out of the season.
That's a great point.
Last season he didn't play that much, looked slow at times. If he starts, that's a big I'm going to try this more often this season. I'm going to play this. Especially, and also Donny van der Beek, like you mentioned, if he starts in that midfield, that's a big statement that we're going to try this. Even if it's Van der Beek and McTominay or whatever it is, that would be massive to see. That's a big change in what we've done a lot of last season. I wouldn't mind it, but I'm worried about Matic's legs. I'm worried about, especially in games like this, whether he can do it. He looked good against Everton, but quite a poor Everton in pre-season. Whether how much that shows, you don't know. But he did look good against Everton.
And that's the thing. He did look good, and we've not really seen McTominay and Fred much. They both, Fred had a few minutes, and that's a bit. But that's kind of it.
Ollie trusts him.
Ollie does trust him.
And then against the game against Leeds, high pressing, a lot of running. I think he might just go with that again.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Matic and Fred, to be honest. I could see that. Let us know what you think the team will be in the comments below. I mean, I think they're genuine. I mean, it's a shame for Elanga that he's been injured for the last few days because I think he would have been really in for a shout of starting. He was excellent in pre-season. But there are some variables here. I think the back five, again, injuries apart, is pretty set.
Yeah.
But that sort of front six...
Could be anyone.
Apart
from Bruno, he's starting.
Yeah. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments below. I didn't even put Paul Pogba in my team. I could see him getting in there, but who knows?
It's a weird one because we've been talking also about this other midfielder that's going to come in to make Paul Pogba fit and play more often and play in that position. Because we've got someone on the right now, so when Marcus is fit, he's on the left. He's not going to have Paul Pogba there and moving over. You're going to have that more often.
Yeah.
Does he trust him in midfield alongside Fred, Pogba and Bruno? Could he do that? Potentially, but that's a big change for last year, and we've seen in times He just doesn't trust it.
Yeah.
Will he do that with Lindelof behind him as well? Until Varane gets in, maybe there's a case for that. But it's going to be interesting to see how Ollie sees the season, how he sees his squad, because it's been a bit of a mixed bag. You've not really seen much in pre-season. You've seen a lot of Matic, but you could see him leaving before the start of the season.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. If he went to Lazio Roma
to go and see Jose
next week, you'd be like, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, it's a mad one. Yeah. I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be stunned for him to start 25 league games next season.
No.
I also wouldn't be stunned for him to leave before the week after next. Just a quick one. Varane, will he be in the squad?
I think he might. I can't see it now. What time is it? If he's not been announced tonight, he's not even trained. If he doesn't get in the train, they're not going to train at all. Friday will be a recovery day. It'll just be like, right, you stand there. That's going to be. They're not going to. He's not even going to be able to have a kickabout with the team yet. Never mind being in the squad. And
it's rare that you bring a centre back on just to give him some minutes, isn't it? He might do that. Let's say we're 3-0 up.
The other thing, he's got 9 subs. It doesn't matter.
That's a new one.
You could just put him in a suit on the bench and just name him.
9, by the way, people on the bench. You don't get to make 9 subs.
9 people on the bench. It's madness.
Just a quick other thing on we're previewing the game, but we're previewing the sort of the season a little bit as well. Have you seen this thing with the referees saying? Have you seen the new changes to the laws?
Soft penalties.
Well, there's a few things. For anyone who hasn't seen it, the main ones are if, let's say, I'm in the opposition's penalty box, the ball hits my arm, it drops to my feet, I pass it to Alex, he puts it in. That's no longer a penalty. Obviously, assuming I didn't mean to handle it. Yeah. Whereas if you're the direct person that scores the goal and it's an accidental handball, it touches your hand for whatever reason, that's still not a penalty, sorry, that's still a disallowed goal. So they're trying to make that. But the big one for me, and I think we saw this a lot in the Euros, for anyone who watched a lot of Euros games, a lot of sort of heavy tackles or heavy collisions or one-on-one shoulder barges weren't being given as fouls in the Euros.
No.
And the refs have come out and said, we want just, football to be a contact sport. It had got to the point, and this is them saying this, that any contact and it was a foul, whereas now they're trying to go back to this thing of there has to be enough contact to affect the player, not just some contact. Do you think they'll implement that properly? And if they do, let's say in an ideal world, they don't lose their bottle when someone has a go at them, they don't change it 2 months into the season because, refs are inconsistent. Let's say we go back to, you actually need to get fucking hit here for this to be a free kick. Do you like the sound of that?
I still think it's tough to judge. I think that the contact rule and then go down kind of made it a bit of a line where you could say, right, was that enough contact? Because people have argued and said, look, that was never a foul in my day. He said, but no one was running as fast as they were then. People are going faster. The contact of just a little touch on a Dan James or a Marcus Rashford going at full speed into the penalty area is probably a foul. And even we've taken the mick out of Mo Salah a few times. Every little nudge on Mo Salah when he's going at full speed might not affect you when you're standing still, but if you're running at full speed, it could happen.
Trying to change direction, you've got a ball at your feet, yeah.
And I think that it was a bit soft, that. Yeah, but you don't know whether these gone off balance, and it's a tough line to draw. I think that there's going to be a lot of questions, but at the same time, do you know what? VAR, if it can fix the direct things, I think that's the main thing for it. If it fixes whatever this is, there's always going to be questions over stuff, and it's got to be the referees that make the decision.
You mentioned there about tough line to draw. Another thing they're doing, they're putting a 5 centimetre line on offside lines. So whereas before it was a pixel wide line,
right,
that was like, if your toes pass my toe by 1 pixel, you're offside. Now they're putting a 5 centimetre line over the 2 lines, and if there's no crossover there, it's not offside. So we get essentially a mathematical way of giving back the advantage to the striker. That sounds like a good idea.
Mind. It has to be a line of some sort. There has to be some. This is where I've never really cared about the offside bit, because it's look, you have to draw. There has to be something. Now they made it 5 centimetres instead of it being a pixel, but it was what it was. It was a pixel. Okay, you're offside. It's shit, but that's what it is.
Well, they were saying apparently there'd be around 20 goals last season that weren't given that now would be given. So hopefully
more goals. Goals.
Anyway, let us know what you think to the change in VAR, the game itself. Are we going to win? And I'm going to ask you, Alex. Are we going to win? And if so, what's the score going to be?
We're going to win.
Yes.
3-1.
Wow, as many as 3.
3-1.
Interesting. I think this is going to be
goals.
Fucking horrible, this game. Absolutely disgusting game. I think 1-0. 1-0. I think it's going to be really grim. They're going to grind it out. It's going to be a similar game to the one we saw Ellen Road last season, but United will get the win. I'm going to go 1-0 United.
3-1.
3-1. Yeah. Let us know your score predictions in the comments below. Let us know your team predictions. Let us know just how happy you are that proper football is back. We will be here for the watch-along. I'll be here as well for the watch-along for Manchester United against Leeds obviously, when is it? It's when the game's happening. Tune in for the watch along. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Alex. Football is back. Let us know how excited you are in the comments. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit.